When you left me at the end of the last episode, where did you go, by the way? I hope you had a nice time. Anyway, when you left me, we had just finished making this rail track making factory thing, and we've got a fair bit more work to do. And hold on a second, there's cobblestone coming out of that vault behind me. That shouldn't be happening. Let me sort that out. That's better, and now we're going to decorate this place. And I know some of you are not very keen on me covering everything up, so I'm going to leave some bits exposed. And what we're going to do for this build is reverse the palette. So I've got these brick bond spruce planks that we're going to use for the main bits of the walls, and then we'll use cobblestone for the pillars, just to give us a little bit of variety in this area. And we're done, despite a few interruptions from the neighbours on the hill there. On this side I've put a few windows and glass doors in. That means that obviously we can get inside and we can see inside. Where's it gone? There's my building. We haven't hidden that movement completely. We can still see that's going on from the outside here, but popping inside we can get to all the bits and pieces in case we want to change anything or just come in and marvel at it. Over here I've put a funnel onto here, so in case we ever want to get just a whole stack of stone, then we can just grab one from there and the next one will appear. And if I pop round to the other side, let's just show you all the way around it. We've got a few bits poking out here and there to add a bit of interest. And around here we've got a similar thing where we can get items out of the vaults really easily. This spell carries that stuff, the flint, up into this barrel here. Then we've got gravel just coming up onto this depot. And we've got another filter here for just about anything else that we want. And of course, while we've been doing that, the machine has been working the entire time. And that means we've now got up to just under a stack of rail, so we can now take all that train track down to the tunnels, and hopefully that might be long enough to join up from here all the way to our island. There's one other thing I need to show to you, to introduce you to in fact. Let me just whistle for it. There we go. We have a horse, a personal horse that we can call at any time. And of course, in true Minecraft tradition, the horse needs a name. So name suggestions in the comments, please. So there's enough track to get us all the way here to where our train is. And in fact, there's even more track. We've got plenty of track. I don't think we're going to run out anytime soon. And that means at last the moment has come to try and get this train moving. But we need to do some finishing touches to it first, because if I hop on board, we don't have any controls or any seats on board, and that's what we're going to need to sort out, otherwise this thing is not going to move. Well, we do now have a train that moves, and it has taken a surprising amount of time to get it working. Not to get it moving, that was fine, but to get it going without taking half the station with it, or without leaving half of the train behind. It's taken so many attempts, gluing and ungluing and so on, but we are there now. But our other problem is that the tunnel that we made wasn't quite big enough, so I've made it a block higher all the way along, which took a fair amount of time. The other problem we've got is the train tunnel is not quite wide enough, so if you look at the right hand side of the train as we move along, well, you can't really see the side of the train, all you see is wall instead, and that's because we need to widen these tunnels. And to do that, and indeed to make our future rail tunnels just the right size, we're going to need to change our tunnel boring machine. We're going to need to make it a block higher and also a block wider on each side. But as always, there's something we need to do before we can do that, and that is with these filters that we're using on the deployers here. We're using these filters so that we can use this machine in the nether and in the overworld, both above and below deep slate level. So they will put down cobblestone or cobbled deep slate or netherrack, depending what we've got in the chests. I don't have enough filters for all the deployers that I want to put on here, and that means we need to go and fetch some wool. Okay, here's the expanded version of our big drilling machine. We've got a massive wall of deployers at the front here, They will fill in any water or lava sources that the machine comes across, and then the blocks get drilled away behind, leaving the tunnel. These ones on the edge don't get drilled away, they are full of tunnel lining. Behind our wall of deployers is a wall of drills to drill those blocks away, and then at the bottom here we've got our deployers for the tunnel floor. Then behind those we are deploying our redstone torches and our powered rail just to keep the machine moving along, and then at the back over here we've got these mechanical plows that will scoop those things back up again. Well, the tunnel is now widened and heightened, is that a word? It's the right height and the right width. The train can go along it without anything glitching out, which is great. But the next thing I want to do is to automate it. And for that, I'm going to need a couple of things. I'm going to need a train schedule, and here's one I made earlier. And I'm also going to need some mobs to drive it. But it just so happens that this is a slime chunk. And so actually, I've already got some volunteers. Now, instead of having a driver at each end of the train and having the train go both ways, I think it makes more sense to just have the train having a front and a back. So I'm just going to make it go that way, and we're going to get rid of this seat and train controls and, yes, this driver as well. And that means I'm going to need to put in a turning loop at each end so that it's always going forwards, but that's okay, we've got loads of track, we can do that. What I don't have though is the space to actually make a turning circle. We've got just this narrow passage, and of course if I get my tunnel boring machine out, it's just going to make more of the same. So we need something different. So I want to make a second drilling machine, one that's going to be a bit bigger in scale but a bit simpler in function. So we're not going to bother with actually placing any blocks, so there'll be no deployers, just a whole bunch of drills. I've got 44 here in my inventory, so let's see what we can come up with. So there we are, it's as simple as that. It's just 8 columns of drills, 5 high, because that's how big we need it for our train to get along. Let's just glue it all together. I've got an item vault on this side. Let's get around here and glue that in. What I'm not doing is making this move along by itself. I'm just going to build a 1 wide tunnel, put my own rail down there and just push this thing along. That should do the trick. Now the way my tunnel is laid out, we've got the station here with the train in it, and as you can see it kind of just glitches, that's the wrong word, it just goes over into the main tunnel which goes along there. So what I'm going to do for the loop is just carry that on along this way, make it go along behind the station and loop round behind it there somewhere. That means of course we're going to make a bit of a junction here, and we're going to have to work out how things like signals work, but we'll come on to that. Several hours of mining later, or at least getting the train machine thing to do the mining, and we have a turning loop at both ends. Now some of these corners are a bit tight, they're pretty much as tight as you can possibly get, so I think they might be a little bit uncomfortable when we're coming around them on the train, and we might need to give ourselves a bit more space in the future. But for now at least everything joins up, and we should be able to get the train going from one end to the other automatically. So let's hop on board and see just how bad it is, shall we? So this is the loop at the industrial base end. Let's start driving. Yeah, that's pretty tight, isn't it? You wouldn't want that on a real train. And we're now approaching the other end. This one swings backwards and forwards a little bit before it turns, but the turn isn't quite as bad. It swings all the way around. Whoa, that's a sharp turn, isn't it? That is a sharp turn. So definitely a little bit of room for improvement, but we should now at last be able to figure out the scheduling thing. So I've got my train schedule, but first of all I'm going to dispense of one of these slimes. Just like that. And we're off. Now that we've got things working functionally, it's time to sort out the aesthetics, because although behind me I've got a bit of a station and it kind of looks, well, decent, if I turn around, well, there's a train. If I turn around, it's just a mess, and this whole platform and situation needs sorting out. And as for the other station, this place just needs an awful lot of work. I think I'm just about there with this platform. So for the walls, I've just carried on with the deep slate tiles that we have on the other side of the track over there. The ceiling I've left pretty raw, so that's just a combination of deep slate, cobbled deep slate, and whatever ended up there, to be honest. I'm very pleased with these lights though, these andesite caged lights. We've only got is it 4 of them along here? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they are enough to light up the platform. We also have a couple at these tunnel entrances behind me. We will want to decorate these walls behind me a little bit more. I just need a few more paintings and things like that to go on there. But I have put in some seats that we can sit on while we're waiting for the trains. And these tunnels to the sides, well, they don't really go anywhere. These ones at the ends you can see through to the other track, which is quite a nice thing when there's a train coming. At both ends of the station I really wanted it to be dark and a proper tunnel like it is on the real tube, so I've slabbed along the sides of the track and underneath the track in order to spawn proof it, removed all the torches so it really is quite dark. I've got to admit it's not entirely spawn proof, we've probably got a little bit more to do, but the idea is there. We need to do a bit more work, but I love how dark those tunnels are now. Because the rest of the decor is pretty dark, I decided to go with a pretty bright floor. As you can see, this is rough smooth stone, believe it or not, that we've got under my feet here, and we've just got some split blocks under my feet now just to get this yellow safety line in. You'll also notice the platform is currently too long for the train, and that's because at the moment the train's only got 1 carriage and I'd like to give it at least 2 or 3. So with this one all done, I've just got to remember what I've done and go and apply exactly the same thing to the other end. This platform is much shorter than the other one, but I've carried on with the same kind of decoration, exactly the same tiles and things around here. I've changed the floor up just a little bit more texturing on this side. The lanterns are a slightly different variety as well. These are iron ones, where we've got andesite ones at the other station. But when we make our train bigger, we can of course extend the station, so that's all fine. So we've got a fully operational metro system, completely automatic, with all the stations decorated. That's pretty good progress. Up here on the surface though, we've got some pretty decent looking buildings now. I do like this cluster of buildings, but the landscape around here, well, we need to do a bit of work on this because it is a mess. So that's something I want to do in the next episode, but the other thing I really want to do is I want to explore this ocean behind me because it's just calling to me. I want to know what's over there. I still want to try and find some jungle and dark oak and some dripstone. We've got loads of materials that we need to go and try and find. So I'm hoping that if we sail over that way, we might be able to find some of the things we're looking for. So a bit of decorating, a bit of exploring. I think the next episode's going to be a good one. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I'll see you next time. Bye! I'm going inside, I'm getting wet.